Hi, everybody. So today we're going to talk about giants, and I've got Julianne and Steph and Dana and David and Rex and Elisa here.
Yeah.
So we're going to try not to talk over each other, and we're going to have a good time, and we're going to talk about giants in general. One thing that was brought up that I should bring up right away is that when the Anunnaki came in and kind of took over Earth, they were split, there were good and bad. But they were always shrinking themselves. So they were messing with their DNA, messing with human and Anunnaki DNA coming together. And they basically got smaller and smaller and smaller. So just keep that in mind when we talk about the giants, because the Anunnaki were at least 40 feet tall. Okay. And I did have a tune in and I sent it out and Julianne wrote it.
Well, I typed it because that was easy.
You typed it. Okay.
I did.
She's going to read it.
It was longer.
Yeah.
So you started it out by saying it is very important that we are open-minded for this conversation. We all have different life experience and we have a different perspective, which causes us to perceive what we think and then expect other people to act accordingly. When it comes to uncovering the past and jumping into the future, we must be open-minded and check with our inner knowing. When our inner knowing tells us it is true, then it is. The external is not as important as we have believed it to be. This information that we are about to reveal comes from Honey's higher self. Everything used to be bigger. We used to have more oxygen. The things within the ocean that we don't know yet about were reflected on the land. Some of the ones we do know about from the sea are whales, the killer whale, the great white shark, so forth. There were beings the size and massively bigger on the surface, not just here, but many other places. Okay, so the Anunnaki were giants. Then the Titans were exponentially giant. You can see a Titan's face in the mountains if you fly over the mountains. You can see their body parts in the mountains or in the hills. You can see hills in odd places among flat areas. Looking at it from above, it is clearly a Titan, around 1,000 feet tall. Some were even way bigger than that. They were massive. It's kind of a shock to your system to think about something that big. Honey gets that they didn't do well on Earth because of their size. Harder for them on this Earth to sustain themselves. They needed a bigger planet. The Earth felt small to them and they outgrew her. But overall, they were pretty happy here and fairly primitive. Not really big thinkers. We would see them as highly clumsy because to them, the forest was more like grass to us, if you want to get that perspective. And the trees they looked at were massive in size as well. So everything was massive. It felt congested on the Earth. The Earth was overwhelmed. Not just the Titans were giant, but some of the trees were giant. Again, the trees today would have been like the lawn to them. The animals were also enormous. Everything was gigantic in size. Honey gets that this is during the period where the Earth was still hooked to Saturn. Saturn was Earth's sun. This will be explained in our group with people's knowing through their visions. We'll get an explanation of that. But the Anunnaki were also quite tall, some much more massive than the 40 feet tall that most of them were that came to Earth. And maybe they had shrunk themselves slightly before they came, but overall the average was about 40 feet tall. They consistently shrank themselves for thousands of years with genetics and mixing with the human population genetically, not sexually. So we still have giants today. We just haven't seen any lately, but they saw them 100 years ago when they found all their monies. There are still giants out there waiting to greet us. They are a jolly sort. They feel to be happy in general, but there was a group that was shrunk differently using only their own genetics, no human genetics at all. And they went berserk, okay? So there's something known as the berserker idea. This may be where it came from, and we can clarify that as well. And they had red hair because the Anunnaki had red hair. But they all are gone. Most of them are all gone now. Possibly a couple remain, maybe in stasis of some kind, but the giants in general have been hanging out with us for thousands of years. Some have not been nice, and some have been amazingly kind, just like humanity. I think the giants in general will help us gain new perspectives and help us not to be so insulated with our own perceptions, so we can see through the eyes of another. The end.
Beautiful. I forgot that I had that in the reading already. So I was kind of hoping Elisa would talk about how Earth was taken away from Saturn, like how that happened, because I feel like that would really help. And I always get that's when the Titans kind of kick the bucket at that point.
That story's fantastic.
It is fantastic.
You told me that one, yeah.
Well, a lot of people don't know that the sun that we are around now is not our true parent star. If you look at Jupiter and Saturn and Neptune and Uranus, they are failed stars. They were brown dwarfs. Now they are giant gas planets, but they were brown dwarfs. And they were in pairs together. They hovered around each other, and they all had the same electromagnetic to them. In other words, they were all the same. Their compositions might have been different, but their frequency was the same. So they could be around each other without destroying each other. And then as our star is moving through the galaxy, this star here is moving through the galaxy. It came across these four brown dwarfs. And then whenever they came in close proximity is when everything got chaotic and pretty much destroyed. But all those planets got turned into gas giants, but Saturn was Earth and Mars's true star. Okay, I see the stars as being male and the planets being female, because the star shines down on the planet and fertilizes it and everything grows. Well, we're going to forget about all the other planetoids and stuff we have out there. We're going to focus on Earth and Venus. But whenever it got too close to the sun that is here, it set off a discharge. Okay, a more powerful star will arc and hit a smaller target that is weaker than it to draw the energy off of it. It can't help itself. That's its job. That's its purpose. And that's how you can, supposedly keep space. But it knocked it down into a gas giant. But in the process of this, Earth got flung from her, just like Mars did. And of course, Mars and Earth is being shot towards the sun now, like comets across a pool table, and they come too close to proximity to each other, and they actually arced off of each other. And that's how you got the trench on Mars and the Grand Canyon on Earth, is because these are lightning scars on a massive scale. And then, and then she finally had gotten herself stabilized around this here star, because this star had pity on her, because he knew that God knew it had life on it. So he guaranteed that he can pull it towards him, Earth and Mars. Okay. And in the process of Saturn being jolted so many times, it'll spin. Any of the planets will spin very fast if you give it too much energy. And it pretty much shit Venus. Okay. And then that got shot across the solar system, and it was actually going in the opposite direction. But because of the turn of the table, eventually it slowed it down and forced it to start going in the other direction. But Venus goes in the opposite spin as ours. But yeah, and then whenever the Anunnaki, the brown dwarf Nibiru, had come back in, because it was actually the twin star to the sun that's out there now, and because they have the same frequency, so to speak, they don't null each other out. They can actually spin and then go back out their separate ways. But Nibiru came in when they left, because it's a 3,500 year orbit. Whenever they left, Earth wasn't there. And then whenever they come back, there's Earth and Venus and Mars. Okay. And because the frequency had gotten knocked down, so like into the 3D form, the Anunnaki came in proximity of it, noticed that they can do the same thing. And because it was a lower density, it caused the fashion to split. Okay. And then they pretty much took over Mars first, and you've seen what happened at that. And then after they destroyed that, Some survivors came here to Earth, and then the whole process started over. Except this time, it was trying to be contained inside of a dome because it got so bad. They didn't let it spread all over the planet. They kept it isolated in this here dome, which is about 100,000 miles around. So we've been in it, as far as I know, for about 1,000 years. And they have been pulling the illusion over our eyes. There is no night and day, but of course, that's what the theater is showing us. So that's when you say you're stuck in time, we are in time because they're trying to make time to us. So, and if that's a long story short, the best that I can give it for you, honey, and everybody else. So
That's awesome.
Great.
Thank you. Yeah. Very good.
mhm.
So what do we want to talk about with Giants? David suggested this show. So
Mhm.
tell us, David, what are you most interested in with the Giants?
I think I'm more curious about like what's the timeline in terms of when did the Titans arrive, but then when did the Anunnaki arrive? Was it only the Anunnaki that were giants when they came, or did they interbreed with the human race and then they created human giants, I suppose, or what was the deal?
Right. So let's go to the pictures. Maybe that'll be easier just to see some of the giants.
Okay.
So if we look at this giant, this I
Wow.
think is this is a Tartarian giant,
Mhm.
but I think that this is mainly human. So this is mainly a human being. It's one of the elites, obviously. A lot of the giants were the elites,
Mhm.
especially in this dome. If they were outside of the dome, then they weren't necessarily. This guy, there's lots of stories about him. I don't know if he's really one of them. He had some kind of pituitary problem.
Was that Robert Wadlow?
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, the last one. Yeah.
Yeah, he was 8. That guy was like 22 years old. He was 8'11", nearly 9 foot. He
Yeah.
died.
So outside the dome, the average giant
Yeah,
is about 10 feet tall
Mhm.
right now, but there's some that are much taller than that.
Mhm.
They're not considered elites out there. So here's a knife.
Nice.
Obviously, we weren't using something like that. But I get that the Anunnaki came around 80,000 years ago. So their books were
Yeah.
very large. Yeah, that's basically. And then
Yeah.
we did have some kind of teeth, but I have to look for them. But basically, so 80,000 years ago, the Anunnaki showed up. They wanted the humans to mine gold for them.
Mhm.
So they were the slaves. And then they just kind of decided, we like it here. We're going to take over. And they realized that it would be better to have some smaller versions of themselves. So they started mixing DNA with humans. I do not think that they were actually having relations
Right.
sexually, because that is not possible.
Right.
But I think that they were messing with the DNA. They were a lot more advanced. They came from 4th density and dropped into 3rd.
Mhm.
And that's when they split and there became the good and the bad. So, and it's a very simplified version, but basically they just kept shrinking. And the Nephilim and the gods and all of those beings that were like these big beings, I think they were represented, most of them were Anunnaki,
Mhm. Yeah.
you know,
were.
and they lived longer too.
Mhm.
So even the Bible will talk about the Nephilim, and how they, mated with the humans. So you're saying there's just no way that could have happened. It was, that's
No,
just
I don't think they actually
stories
did
that they-
anything like that. I think it was all DNA
Right.
stuff. Yeah. I mean, that female would not survive it. Like,
No, would not.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, logic plays into it, but people have
Yeah.
heard the story long enough, they believe it.
Mhm.
What about the Titans? What wiped them out, or what was
So the move from Saturn to where we're at now,
Mhm.
in front of
So-
the genuine sun that's here now, which we can't even see, but it's out
Was,
there.
was that a big cataclysmic event that
Yeah.
caused them to like kind of a massive mud flood or something, or a flood of some sort, or
No, they were on the Earth when it was orbiting Saturn as a dwarf sun.
Hmm.
So when it got yanked away, they didn't survive that.
Right.
and that's why we see them all in the ocean and stuff in the mountains.
Yeah, there are mountains and all those animals too that are like frozen in time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're huge, huge.
And how many of those huge animals and ocean life and even people are outside of the dome? Are there still quite a few?
Oh God. Yeah.
There's big ones. They're not as big as a Titan.
Yeah.
But
No,
they're definitely huge. Yeah.
they're big though.
Uh,
Yeah.
So then the dome wasn't up at that point, so they had the entire Earth to use.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that the Titans came direct, they were like direct from God. So
Mhm.
Source made the Titans.
Hmm.
Source created the Titans.
They were the guys sent in to make sure that they concealed this shit, to contain it. So, but there were giants already here, but the Titans were like the biggest ones of them all. And so they wanted to make sure that they could trap this and not let it spread any further than what it was, because they didn't want the whole top of Gaia to be contaminated, so they had no choice but to cover it and seal it and make sure it didn't get out. Because look what happened to like Mars and stuff like this here. They destroyed the entire planet, so they did not want that to happen to Earth.
Mhm.
And so even biblically, there's a story of David and Goliath. So Goliath was one of those
Giant.
Yeah, he
giants,
was a giant.
An
No,
Anunnaki giant, or a human giant,
like a Titan giant.
he
or a
was,
Titan giant.
no, he was actually a giant.
I think a
Titans are
regular.
like 1,000 foot or more. So David and Goliath, that was just a giant, something that would be
Right.
between 20 and probably 30 foot high. So,
Oh.
but the
Yeah.
Titans are well over 1,000 foot. These suckers were huge.
Huge.
So
What
that
about
means-
what about Cyclopses? When did
Yeah.
when were they around?
I think
Well,
that
I
was an
actually seen
experiment.
some with the Titans. They were giants too, but I actually
Yeah.
did see Cyclopses at that time too, because they were doing genetic experiments to an extreme, from the massive tall to the small as they can get it, plant, animal, whatever it was. And like I said, it just went, everything was catastrophic. It just went so wrong. So,
Mhm.
Right.
So is that where, okay, is there such a thing as trolls?
mhm.
Okay, so what size are they in relation? And were they part of that product of the shrinkage, or the
I don't know. I guess they're probably would be like about 80 feet tall at the most.
Yeah.
But then they're small and big and
Mhm.
are they mostly inner Earth?
I think
would
there's
say
quite a
probably.
few still in inner Earth.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff we see in the movies is true. Like if they get in the sun, like maybe they turn to stone. I mean,
Yeah, like I wasn't aware of that movie because it came out this last December, but because I always remembered Trolls, the cartoon, which no, but this troll movie
Yeah.
was really kind of interesting.
I got
And
a troll here somewhere.
yeah, it opens up with the dad talking about, fairy tales. There's always a bit of truth to those things. And
Mhm.
rather than I got to see it to believe it, you really got to believe it to see it.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the little troll on your pencil that you could spin it like that and its hair go ever crazy? That's right.
Yes, I
Yeah.
remember that.
I
It was
love
like a
those.
Smurfy troll, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
That was
But,
a marketing campaign, Rex.
Yeah. Teacher be collecting those all up because everybody was distracted.
Well, and even recently, I think that I sent it to you too, honey. It was
Mhm.
that TikToker who is no longer heard from right now, and they say he's passed. His name was Adam Dawson, or Andy Dawson rather, and he showed pictures, some footage of a giant looking, and it was on a snow-topped mountain and somewhere in northern Canada.
Uh-huh.
And he was trying to, investigate that, but he kind of got shut down because he wouldn't leave it alone or whatever. And so that was just last year. That was probably April, May of last year. And then supposedly he passed in July, but I kind
I
of get.
don't
that
think he's gone.
I don't think so either. I think he's probably in some kind, some kind of a holding or something to hush it
Yeah,
down.
I see him kind of stuck somewhere eating pizza and
Who
Yeah.
took him? Who
Well, it was
arranged,
probably
you
a
know,
white cat thing, probably.
took him away from society?
mm, I think the White Hats.
Because then he showed after that film, he showed one where there was like some kind of a military operation, something going on in that very site that wasn't there before. So they were extracting, evidence or doing something. So again, that's fairly recently, and then over the years, we've heard stuff about what was it, Afghanistan stuff? You know what I mean? Like the giants hidden, from in the caves and.
Yeah.
I think those were the red-headed giants, were those ones in Afghanistan? Yeah,
Oh, the Anunnaki,
yeah.
The
So-
Kandahar giant.
Kandahar.
It's the one that I saw, and he had 6 digits
Mhm.
Oh, wow.
on legs, and hands, and 2 rows of teeth, and you have a picture of that.
I do. So
And,
here's the 2 rows
wow.
of teeth.
Mm-hmm.
So Dana found this one.
Yeah.
Wow, double your pleasure, double your fun, I guess.
But the military found this giant in a cave, and he actually, the giant, they say he had red hair. He killed a serviceman, and of course it's all denied, and they had to all sign NDEs,
Yeah.
non-disclosures. But yeah, they said he was 15 feet, and that was in 2002. And there was another one, a giant of Quran too, in 2008 or 2009. So like the Vietnam War had the giant spiders, it looks like the Afghanistan War brought out some giants that weren't meant to be seen.
Yeah.
So
The
And I
Anunnaki
think
have
they were
lots
just,
of teeth.
oh, go ahead.
The Anunnaki have lots of rows of teeth as well.
I get that they had 2.
Because in that movie Coneheads, when he's eating the hot dog and he's got all these teeth
Yeah.
and he eats the hot
Right
dog
there in
really
our face.
fast.
Oh,
Yeah.
I never noticed that.
yeah, I forgot
Yeah.
about that.
In the movie, The Coneheads, yeah, he did, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
and that's the Coneheads are the elite. Like,
Mhm.
they had the cone on the back of their head. So that is the elite.
Was that a
group.
massive? Was their brain really big and long, or
Their
what was the
brain was
reason for that?
bigger. They had more like power.
Mhm.
Was
They were
what kind of
smarter.
that was ET DNA, wasn't it?
Anunnaki.
Oh, that was in Anunnaki.
Right.
Yep. Almost everything just filtered down from the Anunnaki. I mean, they had 80,000 years to mess around.
Yeah.
Where do you
Was-
get that right now in the mountains in the world that we find some of these sleeping giants?
There's a group on an island somewhere. I feel like the ones in the mountains, I don't feel like there's that many.
Okay.
Like, it's like they're by themselves almost. Like there isn't, a whole group of them or anything, but I know that when I tuned in before, there was a whole group that lived underground on an island that was kind of uninhabited.
Hmm.
So,
And whenever the liquidation, happened to the ground, from the frequency, there was actually lots of them that sank, that we don't get to see. So the ones that we're actually seeing in rock form, you can think about those are the ones who was actually pushing to survive, to stay on top of all of this stuff and not sink. So, and it just solidified them anyway, right there where they were at. But there were so many that was actually sunk. But I agree with Honey, there wasn't a massive amount of them. So.
mhm.
I actually have a question about the mud flood. How does it date with the Stonehenge?
The Stone Age.
No, not the Stone Age, but the Stonehenge.
Oh,
In the British
Stonehenge.
Yeah.
I get that the mud flood was around 1796.
Yeah. The thing is,
Yeah.
I found a study conducted in Harvard University 2018.
Mm.
And it was published in the journal Nature. And the Neolithic inhabitants of the British Isles genetically disappeared shortly after the period of when the Stonehenge was built. And that genealogy was largely replaced by an entirely different human culture over a period of very short time. And one of the researchers actually said DNA was compared from ancient human bones to the modern DNA. And she said word to word, and I wrote down because I wanted to get it from the mouth of the horse. The new genetic data are providing an example of population replacement.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, and then Stonehenge, I saw it was rebuilt in the 50s, like they were hauling crap in with.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Different place, I think, too.
yeah, because they turned it into a naughty portal,
Yeah.
like where they would steal people. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was originally built before 1950, but they just refurbished it in 1950, or
I feel like they put it somewhere else
Right.
It
because
was
there's
moved.
several of them.
Yeah, I agree.
have
But
there been multiple mud floods? Like they've had, I would assume they've had a few resets, right? I mean,
there have, most of them have been natural, not man-made.
Right.
So like this mud flood was created by a frequency weapon that caused everything to liquefy and then sink. So it was caused by the Greys.
Mhm. Yeah, some high tech technology, to
Can I
erase it in one shot, so to speak. Try
Mhm.
to.
can I tell about the
Yeah.
where the teeth were found?
Yeah.
It may take a few minutes, but it was kind of one of those rabbit holes. So this was a study conducted in Emory University, Atlanta, Georgia in 1998. And sorry, I'm fumbling today. Researched.
Research.
Thank you. I'm
You're
struggling.
welcome.
Genetic data from different Native American lineages coming through the Bering Strait. I'll just read because I remember nothing today. Excuse me. Lineage is categorized to 4 haplogroups A, B, C, and D, each line representing a different migration through Asia from 20,000 to 30,000 years ago. A small portion of the native population falls completely outside of any previously known genetic group. They can trace genetics 35,000 years ago, but not to the Bering Strait. So this is called the X lineage. The X lineage is found in about 2.5% of Native American groups, small population of Northern European indigenous people. Hey, small population in the Middle East. There is no connection with these groups to Bering Strait. Basically, you have a group of natives to this planet, but you can't trace their genetics. Starting in the mid-1800s, archaeologists started excavating skeletons. These were the Smithsonian archaeologists. And skeletons were from 7 to 8 feet tall in many cases, and there were dozens of skeletons that they excavated. And in the burial sites of the Adena Indian tribe, the highest concentration which were found was in the Kanawha Valley of West Virginia, 1883. Researchers call this the Valley of the Giants. And before 1920s, the Smithsonian's acknowledged the existence of these giant skeletons. That was possibly before they dunked them into sea. And in Lovelock, Nevada, is a cave that was found, and there were human skeletons in the size of 7 to 8 feet and over 40 skeletons. And these skeletons were often found with red hair. And that actually the double rows of teeth were from that, Smithsonian archaeologist, it was original picture.
Okay.
And over 100,000 artifacts were excavated from that cave. and they were great, giant, big things. 15-inch long shoe, 29 size in US, which would fit someone 9 feet tall. Evidence of extreme burning was found, and the extreme burning took place close to the cave, kind of like in the mouth of a cave, and the indigenous Paiute people in the Nevada deserts that have lived there for several centuries. And there is a Sarah Winnemucca, descendant of Chief Winnemucca at the Paiutes, wrote a book in the 1800s and recounted her people's battle with Sidika race of giants. And these are actually written SAI-DUKA apostrophe A, Sidika race of giants. She said Sidika were red-haired, live in mountains near the Paiute Nation, and they were cannibals. And these cannibals used to come and pluck the Paiutes for nourishment. And of course, the Paiutes were not too happy about it and didn't want exactly to be, get killed constantly. So they went into a war with these red-haired cannibals. And a 3-year war started between the Paiutes and the Anunnaki. These are my notes. I just, straight started to write Anunnaki. Last of them hold himself in a cave. And that's when the Paiute people stuffed the openings with firewood and bushes and lit the place on fire and celebrated. And that was the end of the red-haired cannibals. And Sarah Winnemucca actually saved some of the red hair, and she sewed them into her mourning dress and into the décolletage. I saw the picture, and she wore the dress every time she went because she wrote a book about this, and she gave lectures. So she wore the dress with the red hair of the Anunnaki. And when it comes to the Nevada desert, apparently that's a very kind of a busy place for the Anunnaki sightings, because 1904 was reported that 11-foot skeleton was found in Nevada, and in 1931, 8.5-foot skeleton was reported in Nevada. So that was from 04, from 11 feet to 31 to 8.5. So the size was already being shrunk.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Danny, you said they came in and cleared it out. The Smithsonian came in there and cleared it all out, right?
No,
Yeah.
that wasn't the caveman. Actually, that cave was found by 2 locals,
Okay.
in the modern times, and they were actually excavating some bat dung for fertilizer.
Okay.
And that's when they found a very large skeleton, and that's how the archaeologist found all the other artifacts and the skeletons.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, the Smithsonian was great at dumping all those bones.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Hiding a lot of things.
Yeah.
What in general
that-
do the giants eat? She's talking about the Anunnaki being cannibals, but they aren't all cannibals, are they?
No. The ones that are, more human, like basically they've been mixed and mixed and mixed. I think
Mhm.
that they just eat what we eat mostly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cleaner
Just
birds.
whole cows.
Yeah.
Just a lot more,
cows.
yes.
Yeah. But they also had, back then, they also had much bigger vegetables and stuff, didn't they?
Mhm. Big fruit, like here's your apple.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Good.
lettuces that were as big as
Yeah.
a human, like
Yeah.
as big
That's
as us.
with the larger oxygen
Right.
content.
Right.
Talking about a head of cabbage as big as a truck. You know?
Mm,
So
yeah.
things were a lot bigger, and because
Yeah.
they had to feed these bodies. So, but that did sustain them better than us, I should say, human beings. Oh, we love-
Outside this domed area, there's gonna be larger, everything's gonna be bigger. There's more oxygen up there.
yeah. Yeah, they haven't been stuck in a bowl breathing the same air all the time.
Yeah.
Kind of a weird question, how we talk to a lot of people and they want to know like how many past lives they've had and what they've experiences and stuff. Nobody said that they've been an Anunnaki or a giant. Is that,
Oh, I've come across a couple.
have you?
Yeah, I know.
A
few
lot of us
people.
had the Anunnaki DNA in our DNA, so because they did mix it. Yes, ma'am, Miss Dana.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because we spend like, I mean, some of us have been around just as a soul for like millions of years. So we've
Mhm.
been at all. It's like, oh, I haven't done that yet. Let's go down and try it out. You know?
I was born with a red head and I had the whole double row of teeth, and all the dentists used to think that was the craziest thing. And I used to have a massive trauma about dentists all the way through my adult life, because they kept ripping them off constantly. And even I had one growing at the very middle of my mouth. They were like,
Wow.
where did this come from? And I'm like, what do you ask me?
Right in the
for?
middle,
I don't know nothing.
in there.
You mean up on your palate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I had a friend who had a tooth up here.
Yeah.
Growing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't it funny how people cannot talk about their teeth without pointing to them or putting?
But you need to know exactly. You need to know exactly where it is. Hard to explain.
Well, I mean, yeah, I know where it's at, but I'll say to people, without putting your finger in your mouth, please tell me where it's at. What do they do? Probe around in their mouth. So they just,
how
can't
do you
help it.
explain where is it? All the dentists and hygienists have these G7A plus KGB. I mean,
We
I
have
don't
radar.
know
We
these.
can't-
So
Don't
is
have the
it,
code.
number 2 or 3 or 17? Was it? How would I know?
But boy, if you had double rows of teeth, man, that'd take me a little bit more time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where they
Dana's
were
got some
ripping them
good
off
DNA
constantly.
over there. So,
Austin with rope.
Yeah. I just really haven't, I mean, it makes sense, but I just really have not heard much about people like, oh, and
Yeah.
you've had a couple lives as an Anunnaki, giant and a blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? It just, everybody's
and also
pretty
actually,
fixated on ETs and stuff,
Yeah.
so.
And Honey also figured out that I might have had a life in Nibiru.
Mhm.
And when it comes to the cone-shaped head, I have such a kind of a narrow skull. It's ridiculous, but it goes on forever. It's like from the movie Alien.
oh,
If I try to find hats, I have to go to the men's department.
Turn to the
That's
side.
that's why you knit your hats.
You have a big head too?
Yes.
Oh, mine is
Huh?
too. My caps, I'm all the way out to the very last one, and it's just this huge head. I don't get it. I would think I had this frontal lobe problem with a big forehead, but I don't. But I just
No,
head.
it's the
Everybody has
thing
little
that
bitty
it goes on forever. It's like someone
back
grabbed
here.
it and stretched it.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the genetics have gone all the way down.
Yeah. But I
And
know
I
where we
mean,
are
you're what,
giants.
like 5 feet tall. So obviously not all of it came down, just parts. There is a
Yeah,
guy
yeah,
that I
Anunnaki.
watch all the time who has 6 digits on his hand.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Go ahead,
The
David.
Have 6 fingers, 12 fingers and 12 toes. So that's a good sign that you can, actually tell that they have that DNA within them.
Mm-hmm.
So, like a lot of the celebrities, even Oprah, she has 6 toes on each foot. So,
Huh.
mhm, yeah.
So why did they, like 100 years ago, those giants were still hanging around? Why all of a sudden did they decide to just get it out of our history and our memories and as short as 100 years ago, they were still around.
They wanted to rewrite the history and they wanted us to all be small
Right.
and feel small and not feel like, I mean, it was just part of getting rid of protection, I think, some of it. And also the giants, they knew the truth.
They need to get rid of everything.
They did
Mm.
mostly. They got rid of as
Yeah,
much
they need
as
to
they could.
wipe everything.
Yeah, they did. They wanted a clean slate and then start from scratch with all the orphans that they
Yeah.
collect. and killed and got rid of their parents or put them in insane asylums so that they can teach those children a brand new history from themselves, that as they grow up, they only believe what they're told, and something that was there yesterday, they're going to tell them, no, that thing was built 1,000 years ago. And these young children are going to believe it because they don't know no better.
Mhm.
And also it became quite dangerous to be a giant at some point.
Mhm.
There was this, I actually have a picture, but I don't suppose it'll show on this small screen, of Fyodorov Makhnov, and he was born in Belarus in 1878. And it's believed by the very many pictures of him that he was at least 8 and 2 when he was grown, because at 14 he was already 6 foot 6 inches.
Wow.
And a lot of scientists offered their services to preserve his skeleton when he dies. And there were all kinds of scientists coming from woodworks, and he started to fear for his life, so he refused, because he didn't want to go to an early grave. Basically, he wanted to live a long life. He was very healthy and everything, but for some mysterious reason he died 1912, and he was only 34 years old at the time. And he was buried in a closed casket, and his skeleton was never found. So I don't think it was at some point, it became a time when it wasn't so very safe to be a giant either.
No.
Mm.
I want to clarify, when I was doing the tune in, you know what I mean? Towards the end, you talked about the portion of the Anunnaki and so forth that were shrinking. They shrunk differently. They just used their own DNA. They weren't mixing it with the humans. And so they kind of went berserk, was the way it was put. And then it was like the berserker idea might have come from this. And I had never heard of that. Could you explain that?
So in I don't know, a fight or whatever at war, the berserker is the guy that comes in and basically he just doesn't stop.
Mhm.
All he does is fight and fight and fight. It's like the mind goes.
Mhm.
So that's a berserker.
Right.
Yeah.
We were talked about a lot during the Vikings,
Yes, it was the
have these
Viking era.
berserkers, but these dudes were big dudes,
Right.
so and they go berserk, they can do some damage. So that's kind of like your Marine in front of you. You want to cause damage before you even get there. So yeah, these berserkers were very known for that. So yeah.
Were the Vikings kind of known to be redheaded too? Most of them, many of them,
A
or
lot
not
of them.
necessarily. A
Yeah.
lot of them.
Yeah, they definitely
Right,
have some
right.
of that in there because the Vikings were big dudes. I mean, that's not a lot of them, easy, just average would be 7 foot. These are some big dudes, like football players, but they come down in size. So yeah, and I think that they had lived up to their reputations of the berserkers and how they didn't let anybody else tell them what to do, and they dominated. They were very powerful.
Mhm.
Is
Just
the
like
red
Genghis Khan. He was a redhead. And then
Yeah.
they go and change him in the new, the newer pictures to some Chinaman. I mean, he looks like it's totally wrong. He was a redhead and he was mean.
Mhm.
So he wasn't
Yeah.
Chinese or Mongolian or anything.
No?
He was described by the person that wanted you to perceive him the way he is now instead of the truth. In other words, the narrator can tell whatever truth he wants.
Yeah.
That's how they changed the narrative.
Mm-hmm. Whoever
then
wins gets to rewrite history.
I mean, everybody knows Jesus is white, right? No, he's not. But the story is that we're to believe that. But whenever you look into it, he was in the Middle East. I mean, logic kicks in. He had to look like his people around him. He was not a white man. Okay?
No, he was brown.
Mhm.
short, fat, Middle Eastern?
Yeah,
Yes.
short, fat Middle Eastern. Yeah.
I gotta say something about redheaded, because back in my DNA days, going down holes and all that, is it that redheaded contain more copper in their DNA, and then that's where the red, is that what the red is from? And then the second question is, with that, because that's a conductor of energy, is that left over to a spiritual connection to when you're grounded in earth? What goes on with those people that were redheaded for the?
I don't get that it's copper.
Okay.
But I do know that redheads feel less pain.
Yes.
They have amazing intuition. There's been, there's a lot of gifts that come with having red hair.
Mm.
And part of that is, the Anunnaki gifts. And the main thing to remember is not all of the Anunnaki were bad.
That's right.
So some of them were wonderful, benevolent, protecting humans. It's the ones that were not so nice that were stuck in this little dome. So
Yeah.
I think I have
And the
that
reason
picture. I've been.
Yeah. The reason I get that. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Her famous photo. I mean, her
The
famous
famous picture. Yeah.
picture. That's going to be in a museum one day.
If I don't
Go,
squish it.
go Rex. What were you trying to say?
Yeah.
Oh, I was trying to, when I was digging around and back in the rabbit holes about blood types and such, the O negative thing, that's what I am. And along that came redheaded, all these things that I'm not redheaded at all. But I have all these other things that go along with it. Tend to be intuitive, tend to be, conduct energy with my little crystals and all that. I can feel that stuff. Okay. And there's that thing. I'm just not redheaded. And there's no redheaded in the family. That's why I was curious, because it also said they contain a lot of copper and they always have digestive issues. Well, I have a digestive issue. Everything's acid reflux all the time lately. But anyway, back to the point was that's why I was wondering about the redheaded and the connection it would have to energy source and stuff and bloodlines of that. Because Dana touched on that too, that DNA things and such. So anyway.
The X lineage.
Yeah. Well, I've heard that redheads are a mutation, and they're wanting us to believe that this is just a freak of nature, because the redhead's the oddball out, and that's not true. They actually do have a lot more of I want to say a closer lineage to the redheaded Anunnakis. It's in their DNA. And they actually have these more sensitive things about them that gives them an advantage, but they don't realize what it is. So, I mean, I actually have a redhead, and my sister was a redhead. But I did notice that, like my older sister, she was a redhead, and friggin' animals would just walk up to her. I mean, it was just like nothing. And I was like, what the hell? It was a wonderful gift, but she can also paint and draw and do all kinds of crafts, shit that I can't do. Hell, I can't even cook rice. And then my redhead, my daughter redhead, she's the same way. She has all of these different gifts, and that I sure didn't get all this stuff here with crafts and singing. I mean, with drawing and arts and stuff like that. There, I find it very fascinating.
Yeah.
We were talking about how they shrunk and stuff, and we're talking outside of the dome on all those lands that have been unexplored from us or by us. Not only do we have those giant people or those tall people, so the tall trees and the big I mean, all of that is out there.
Right.
Well, yeah, to a degree. I mean, it's not massive, but it's big.
Yeah,
and in the oceans, it's much bigger.
Right.
And there's more oxygen.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everybody's heard that animals will grow to their environment. Okay. Well, whenever there's less oxygen in a sense, upside down bowl, they're only going to get so much bigger. But outside of that, outside of the dome, they don't have that restriction. So they have that extra oxygen and all the light and everything else. And of course, they can grow to a certain size, but it's nothing like Titan size or anything else.
No.
Lisa, isn't that like certain fish that you put in a bowl? If you get them when they're young, they're only going to grow to be certain sizes in their aquarium to fit that realm. They're not, but yet if you put them in a lake, they'll get huge. So that's the same kind of what we're in, I guess. And we're limited to the sources that make you big. Therefore, we're going to just stay at a certain, and we're going to die at a certain age too, because they program that all in.
Well, that's getting fixed. So
yeah, it is. Absolutely. I've claimed it already, so it ain't going to happen. Y'all
Mhm.
gonna see 1,000 years from now.
How old do giants tend to live? You said they don't live as long, but how old do they tend to?
I don't
Be-
think the Titans lived as long.
Right.
But I get that a lot of the giants that are here now, like they have very long lifetimes.
Yeah.
So 400 or 500 years old. But
Yeah.
They have 35% oxygen out
Yeah.
there. We have 15.
It's a big difference.
It's a huge difference, and a lot of it is because things have been made into deserts in here where they wouldn't be normally.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we wouldn't have
And
all
our
this
trees and
dry-
stuff don't grow as big as they used to give more oxygen, you know. They've been shrunk down as well because they were trapped in something that don't allow them to grow like they should have, or should I say outside the dome. So,
Mhm.
Did they
even
cut
the
the
leaves in
large
the
tree
trees
down
are larger.
before they put the dome up? I can't remember.
No, the big trees they cut down right around the late 1800s and early 1900s.
Right.
So the huge redwood trees. And
right,
I think that was on purpose too, because there's
Right.
so much wisdom contained in those amazing trees. So they basically did the same thing that the Anunnaki had done before with the really big trees.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the massive Titan trees. I mean, if the Titans themselves were 1,000 foot high, imagine how big the trees would have to be to compensate something like that. The same thing with us; they're a lot taller. So, as far as I know, they wanted a guarantee that these suckers would not climb and try to survive anything. So they had sent in these 4 God Titans that came in north, south, east, and west, and they just was laying these trees out with just one swing of this here axe that had a fire end on it, but like it's heated up, and it would just be a clean slate, and they would just go through and just wiping all these trees out. And these trees, you know, we could not even comprehend these trees, much less the Titans that was running around at that time, because like I said, they were 1,000 foot. So you think the trees would be somewhere around 5,000 foot or
Yeah.
4,000 or 5,000 foot. Well, that's massive.
Mhm.
That really does blow your mind.
Yeah, like you said, this here would be like grass to them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got pretty amazing stuff.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So are we going to continue to grow like as things change in our environment? Will we become larger again?
I think we'll be able to activate that within ourselves.
Mhm.
But honestly, I think it'll take us several years to figure that out.
Right.
I don't think just like healing ourselves in an instant,
Yeah.
we're going to be able to change our bodies, but you have to have a lot of belief
Mhm.
to have that. And I think also our DNA needs to be completely activated, which it's not at this point. Yeah.
Right. Because, you know, we get out of the med beds, you know, we get these beautiful, healthy bodies. You know, we don't have to go back into a med bed again. We just have to do minor maintenance, you
Mhm.
know. So, and that's a good thing. And from there, you know, we can only expand upwards. But that does, a lot of people said, well, do I have to have, you know, go to a med bed once a year? No, not unless it's for something else, but you usually get your healthy body, and then you'll have something at home like a wand or whatever that could heal wounds. But I do think that it would still have some kind of facilities for emergencies, you know,
Mhm.
just for emergencies. So, yeah.
Well,
I
the
think
music-
oh, go ahead, Rex.
The music, it takes care of that too, I think. You know, the churches with their, you know, come to healing
Mhm.
those, your maintenance every week that you would just kind of go in there and chime in with everybody else and then get a little fix and then leave.
Mhm.
The
No.
frequency. Yeah.
Yeah. It'd
Yeah.
be more in our environment for us to enjoy it wherever we may go. That would be helpful to us because it resonates in it, and it's a frequency for all. But it won't be so loud that we can't, you know, deal with it or anything like that. Like Rex says, you go to a church to receive it, or to another spot you can receive it. You know, so
Yeah.
good days coming.
I do think that in a med bed, people can probably grow about 5 inches though.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah,
really want to. So there you go, Steph.
I'm going for 4.
I'm
going
going for
for
1
4.
inch.
Okay.
1 inch. I'll be happy. You know, 5'7", I'll be so happy. They did not make pants for people who were shorter than 5'7". So I mean, I had that little buckle at the end.
I know.
Like, what the hell? They prejudice against short. I shouldn't talk to y'all all shorter than I am, except for Rex and David.
I'll settle for
No, I'm
one.
probably
I
about your
wanna read
height,
something
actually.
from the upper cabinets someday without climbing on places.
That would be nice, huh?
Okay. Do you guys have anything else? Is there any other questions about giants or anything we want to share? Nope. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Have a great
Remember,
day.
everybody, you're everything
Bye.
you see. No